Alrighty. So I am here with Drew, I believe the 13th person eliminated from Ascendance Sin City Season 9, and our third juror. So at this time, Drew, just tell us anything that you're feeling regarding the game itself, just the overall experience, who you hate, who you love, all that good stuff.
Okay, well, hello y'all, it's me again. So I first just want to start off by once again thanking production for an amazing season. I had a blast. As much as I threatened to quit almost every single round, it was a very fun experience. It really pushed me to my comfort zone, out of my comfort zone, which is awesome. Um, I got to share my chops and my game with everyone. Hopefully everyone enjoyed watching me play. I know I can be a mess at times, but I I'm confident that I this season I was playing a winning game. I know for a fact if I would have got to the end, I would have been crowned the winner because I had a good social game. I was pretty decently well at challenges. When it came to the jury portion of things, which is the most important, I made sure not to leave any jurors as in the two before me, with any bad taste in their mouth. I think I had surrounded myself with people I could trust. Well, we'll get to that. And just in general, I feel very proud of how I played. I would go to rocks time and time again, um, because why? Sure, if I voted out Jen, I would still be in the game. But what's the difference between seventh place and sixth place? I would rather go to rocks for an ally and secure a better spot in the game than turn my back on my number one and just risk her leaving and then me leaving right after. It just isn't the style of play that I like to do when it comes to the person I'm loyal to. When I have my number one, I will do anything for my number one. That could be a downfall of mine, but that's just the kind of player I like to be. And um, that's the type of player I would respect in the game. Clearly, some people need to learn how to do that better, Josh. But overall, my experience was awesome. I met a lot of really cool people. Um, I absolutely adore Jen. I know it's going to be an uphill battle for her. She's going to probably have to win all the challenges to get to the end. I am her biggest supporter, so she's the one I'm obviously rooting for. I love and adore Erica to death. Uh, I don't. I agree that people underestimate her in this game. I've said that from the start. I think she has a very good shot at winning if she gets to the end. She would have my vote, obviously, if it wasn't against Jen, because I like the kind of game that she plays. Um, so that's what I'm looking at there. Ray, I'm glad we ended up teaming up when we did. It could have been my downfall because all game I was talking about, I need to get Ray out, I need to get Ray out, I need to get Ray out. And then the one round where potentially I could have tried to do something on her, I stuck to my guns and decided, okay, I'll work with her. Uh, I don't know how loyal she was to that. I do know I wasn't high on her list. I know Erica and Matt were higher. But I really thought with the path that we were going down that I was setting myself up to go to the end game. Again, like I mentioned on the call, I just put my trust into the very wrong person. Really thought I could trust Josh, and clearly I could not. Yeah, sure, he didn't vote for me, but him voting for Jen and stringing me along, and then when I asked him telling me, oh, I didn't want to play for second, I just, I respect his game. I don't respect the way he handled it. there's a difference. Like, he's playing a good game, and I respect it because he was wise that I would have brought Jin over him, but I just don't respect how he handled the whole situation. Brian has a big road to get to the end too. I appreciate him sticking his neck out, still going to rocks. Those are the kind of people I like to play with, or those who are here to take risks. Matt, no hard feelings to Matt at all. Obviously, I never knew where he stood. Like, I figured it was with Ray and Erica, but I underestimated his bond with Josh, which ultimately was my downfall, I would assume. Sorry, I'm right by the main road. So I think that's everyone that I hit on, but they're lucky that I'm out because I do think I could have beat any of them. I think I could have beat anyone I sat next to, and I'm proud of the way I played and going out how I did. At least it's iconic. I'm one of 4 people in the series not to have been voted out, besides like runner-up and things like that. And I will wear that with pride. And yeah, that's what's on my mind right now. I'm sure you'll have more questions for me, and maybe it will get what you want.
Yeah, great opening rant slash statement. I never know what to call those, but we appreciate that. So first question, let's go back to the beginning of the game. You kind of set yourself up very nicely the first couple rounds, just kind of like socially. You had a lot of different bonds with people. You were being very active. Talk about the people that you ended up working with long term in the game and like your relationship with them coming into it. Talk about how you knew about Jen, you knew about Erica, and those were people that you wanted to work in the game long term with.
Yeah. So obviously coming into the game, I knew Erica. I knew Erica because I hosted her. I knew Jen because I played with her in my first game, and I knew Ray because we played in our last game together. Out of the 3, I knew for a fact I wanted to work with Jen and Erica because I knew Jen is loyal. She's a ride or die for her people. She proved that all game to me. And Erica, I know she's loyal to her people as well. And if you're with her, you're with her. So those were 2 people that I wanted to surround myself with. And I did a decent job with that. Better so with Jen, not so much with Erica, because I feel like had I gotten her sooner and worked harder on that, I think I would have been her number 1 and not so much Ray. But I told Erica the one big secret all game, which was I knew Jen. I don't know if she remembered that because it was like one of our first calls, and that call only was like 10 minutes. But she was the only one that I had told that I had played a game with Jen. I had told no one else this. I trusted Erica. I still do trust Erica. Sure, she had other people she was stronger to, but I do trust her, did trust her, whatever you want to work that with. I really connected with Josh on night 1, which again, I really, really think that was I put too much trust into Josh. I needed to cater to his ego a little more, I feel like, and make him feel like he was more in control. I think that was my little downfall with Josh. He seems to be the type of player who wants to be in control. He may say he's not, but I do know he's the one that likes to be in control. I shouldn't have pushed hard on a lot of things, but I couldn't help it. That's not the kind of player I am. I can't sit back and go with the flow. I like to at least know what's going on and have some say so in it. But also, I didn't talk to Alex till round 2, but I grew to love Alex. He really helped. He really was a good force for me the pre-jury kind of phase. He did look out for me. Yes, he was covering his bases everywhere, but I do know he had my best interests in mind as well. I proved that, and I feel like I did for him as well because I used my extra vote during the round he was supposed to go, which Hindsight, I wish I didn't, because then I could have used it for this vote to get mad out, but it is what it is. I don't regret that. So Flamingo Fingers. I enjoyed Flamingo Fingers. I really thought our Flamingo Fingers was going to carry us further. I don't know why Josh always questioned me. He questioned me in the tie vote. That should have been a red flag to me that he's a little wishy-washy. But that was a strong bond. I also had obviously my alliance with Jen, which to this day, one of my favorite alliances I've ever been in. Our strategy, take two different sides of the game. I get info from some people, she gets info from others. We come together, compare notes. That really helped us in a lot of rounds. Pretty much most of the game, we were clued in on what was going to happen. Even all the way up to the round that I left, we knew the details on what was going to happen each round because we had eyes and ears on both sides. I'm trying to think of other alliances I had. Really, my alliances were the Flamingo Fingers. Oh, and then I got towards, I don't even remember when it was, but I got in an alliance with Ray and Erica. That really was more so just to be friendly. I wasn't very loyal to that one. Erica, yes. Ray, not so much. But I just felt like I did a really good. Oh, I guess there's that alliance, which I don't really even fucking count an alliance because it was just a chat that we never talked in. But me, Alex, Noel, and Tyler. If there's any person that I feel horrible about voting out, it definitely would be Tyler. I felt like we grew really close together, and I just knew at that time I had to separate game from emotion. I couldn't be an emotional player and push to keep him. It would have ruined my game if I pushed hard to save Tyler. As much as I do believe Tyler was with me, I had other bonds that I just could not ruin for one person. I understand why he went out the way he did and called me out. I get it, but I had to lie all the way up to the whole thing to make sure that he wasn't going to use anything, scramble. It just is the name of the game. So that's the one person that I was close with that I feel the biggest regret towards. Well, not really regret, but like biggest thing that I wish I could have done a little differently. I don't know if you'll ever forgive me. It is what it is at this point. But yeah, I just felt like I was well connected to a lot of people. I just have a way with my words, even though sometimes I stumble over my words, to get people to feel good with me. It's a blessing and a curse. A curse being that I have to vote them out and have them feeling hurt. Blessing, it means my name doesn't go in their mouths to get targeted. But I had a big target the entire game because of my social game. But I am proud of that because it did get me to where I was. And what are you going to do? I don't know if I answered the question, but that's my answer.
Great answer. Great answer. I'm going to sprinkle in a couple of viewers' lounge questions for you. The first one is, people want to know what the most challenging part of the format of this game was for you. I know it's different than a typical Survivor kind of thing in terms of, the tribes constantly being switched, and then there's this individual portion. But what was the most challenging part of the format?
I think the most challenging part of the format definitely was keeping tabs on everybody, because at the start of the game, that was 18 people that I had to make sure felt good with me. And that was a lot. You probably saw it in some of my confessionals or some of my chats, but it constantly ate me up inside because it was super draining talking to so many people, trying to get a feel for that many people. It just is a lot. So I think that was the most challenging part, was balancing as many people as it was, because you don't know if you're going to end up on a team with them next round. Sure, you'll focus most of your time on the people on your team, but you still need to have a good grasp of the people on the other team, because you don't know if you're going to be with them. So definitely the social aspect of this game was the most challenging. Again, I think I balanced that decently well, but due to that, it took a big strain on my mental capacity. I don't know. It was, I honestly would say the social aspect of talking to how many people there was my biggest challenge. Excuse me.
Another question that the viewers lounge has is, you kind of, I kind of want you to not answer it with the Jen, basically going to Rockford Jen. But if other than that, because theoretically you would have made it to sixth place if you had not done that, right? So theoretically, other than that, take that off the table. Is there one point in the game, one move, one thing that you did that you can look back on and be like, you know what? That's where I would change something up that could have propelled me forward a little bit more. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
I think one thing that could have propelled me further is Final 9 when Ray spilt everything to me. I think if I would have went to Jack and Nolan and spilt that beans to them, that I potentially could have garnered their trust. And in turn, I would have had 3 people, Jack, Nolan, and Brian, who would have trusted me. And then there would be me and Jen, which would have been 5, which would have given us majority. So I would say that was my one downfall that I would have potentially wanted to change, because I should have known how Ray plays, and by her spilling that, it could have opened up some doors for me to split up the threesome of Matt, Erica, and Ray. And I just think, yeah, that's my answer to that, is I probably would have spilt the beans about Ray to Jack, Nolan, and Brian.
So now I want to kind of dive into this past live night. I was not there. My bad. I was trying to watch, it back before this interview. But, the first portion, it seemed like almost a unanimous vote for Jack. Then you guys went into touchy subjects. Was there anything in touchy subjects that, I know that comp is sometimes revealing of things. Was there anything in that competition that you were like,
Sorry, I hear you, the motorcycle. What'd you say?
Ooh, wow, that was a loud motorcycle. Was there anything in that specific competition where you were like, oh, that's interesting. That's something that might be used in the game itself, not just this competition?
Honestly, and may be weird, but I think I had a very good grasp on what was going on in the game. So honestly, maybe the one thing that was surprised about, but it doesn't really matter because they were out, was Jack and Nolan being all-star potential that the group thought. Not gonna lie, I wasn't, and it's not because I'm trying to be cocky or anything, but I wasn't surprised that I got most likely to win, because I already knew I had this huge fucking target on my back and people commended me for my social game. So that wasn't shocking. It wasn't really shocking that Brian didn't deserve to be there, kind of thing. Honestly, I could say here, I had a good grasp, but I don't win that challenge. Sure. It's because of that whole fucking, if it was just questions on the final 9, I definitely think I would have won that challenge. But being it on a whole for the entire cast, that was a little more tricky. But I wasn't really too surprised about any of the answers that came up. I knew I already had a target on my back. Me getting the most likely to win, even bigger target on my back. I knew it was going to be a very uphill battle to get to the end. But I was ready to do it and utilize my social skills to make it happen. I think that answers it.
Yes. So during this second vote of the live night, I kind of just want to know, at what point, did you have any realization that Jen was going to be somebody that was targeted? And if so, like when did you realize that was going to be the reality?
Because I knew how the other side played, I had a feeling they weren't going to do Brian. I had that going in, and that's why I try to make the plan ahead of time with Jen and Josh that we need a strike at 7. Obviously, I told the wrong person in Josh, but that's besides the point. But I knew for sure it was Jen when she told me that people were trying to push Brian to vote for her. That was maybe, we had like 10 minutes. That was probably like halfway into the voting that they were pushing Jen. And she said she doesn't think we have Josh. I messaged Josh. He says, I say, are we voting for Matt or are we voting for Jen? Like I said, are we still voting for Matt? And he goes, yes. So all I can do is trust that he's not lying to me, because he hasn't lied to me, at least, well, he has, but like about the alliance, but that's different. But he hadn't proved, like, I felt good with him. So I was like, okay, he's voting for Matt. So when it comes back as a tie, that's truly when I know that we had lost Josh. And Matt had told me he wasn't going to vote for me, so I figured if it was anyone, it was going to be Jen. So, and I didn't think Ray or Erica would vote for me. So, I don't know. I knew it was Jen halfway through the voting when someone tried to convince Brian to vote for her, kind of thing.
Did it ever cross your mind to flip back? To flip on Jen? Did it ever cross your mind, or were you never going to do that?
Sorry, this road is always a bit. It did not, because again, that's not the kind of player that I am. I won't turn on my number one. Again, that's probably a big downfall of mine, and I need to get better at being more cutthroat and ruthless. But voting Jen never crossed my mind. Sure, I may have thought about it before, like, oh, maybe I need to vote her out to get favor with the jury at 3 with my plan. But when it came down to it, and this proved it, I could not vote for Jen. I just couldn't. So she even told me at the beginning that just vote for her. Even with her telling me to vote for her, like once it went into the tie vote, she was like, just vote for me. And I just couldn't. It would go against everything that I do when it comes to an ally. And I wasn't going to break my morals that I've played every single game. When I promise my number one something, I stick to it. I will go down with the sinking ship, clearly, or I should say sinking rock, for my number one. And I have no regrets on that at all.
Awesome. So you're a juror now. You are the 3rd member of the jury. You have a big decision, obviously, ahead of you in a couple, I don't know when this game ends, but in a couple days, maybe a week, I'm not sure. And you mentioned people that you're rooting for. You mentioned why you're rooting for them, who you think can win the game. So who do you wish followed you out the door next?
Oh, just because I'd love Karma to come back, it'd be Josh, obviously, just so I can talk to him. But Josh would be the one I'd love to see follow me next, if plain and simple. So
who do you feel the most betrayed by, Josh?
Josh. Yep.
Okay. So when you're on a jury, have you been on the jury before, or is this your first experience on a jury?
My last 3 games, I was a juror, so yeah, I've been on the jury before.
What are you specifically looking for in somebody's game for you to cast their vote? Or is it kind of just like, Jen was my ally, that's a person, if she gets to the end, no matter what, I will vote for her, even if she potentially isn't the person that played the best game?
And again, here comes me again, but if my number one gets to the end, regardless, they get my vote. That's just the kind of player that I am. I stay loyal all the way till the end. So if Jen gets to the end, she does get my vote. I will be her biggest cheerleader on the jury, pushing people to pushing and saying why she deserves to win well. But if Jen's not there, okay, so I have two jury personas. It just depends on how I went out. I have petty bitch jury member. If you piss me off way too much, I will never vote for you. I have good game. I will vote for the best person. I'm a mixture of both right now, but that's because Josh caused this one to happen. I will vote for Josh if I think the only way I'd vote for Josh is if he's with Brian, more than likely. But I potentially would vote for Josh if he can tell me, like, I just want to know if what we had was good, true. If he can answer my question about if he thinks I'm a more strategic or an emotional player and he answers it right, I will give him my vote potentially. He has to do a lot to get my vote. But if Josh isn't there, if Jen's not there, out of the other four, I want to look for the player that I think played this game best fully. And my ranking right now would be Erica, Ray, Matt, Brian, out of those four.
Okay. What was your favorite part of this entire experience?
My favorite part of this entire experience, honestly, definitely the people in the game. I think we had an amazing cast, but just being able to push myself to limits that I didn't know I had. I'm usually not the greatest at challenges, but sure, I may have only won one challenge, but time and time again, I was number 2 when it was a solo win. I was number 3 when it was a double win. Like, I was constantly in the top. So I like being able to push myself, and I liked being able to push myself socially as well. I always take something away from previous games that I want to incorporate into this game. And there was 2 things I wanted to incorporate this game. One, the biggest overarching thing I wanted to do was, Drew, you need to separate game from emotion. I know you like this person, but you need to vote them out, kind of thing. I think I did a decent job at that. I know it can be better. And another thing was, work on if you get towards jury phase, work on your jury management. I did a very good job at that. Again, it was only 2 jury members, but I think I set myself up in a way that I am proud of how I played this game. And my goal for my next game is to improve that separate game from emotion. I think if I go in doing that even more for my next game, that I can get further. 7th is the best I've done. So I cursed and got 7th again this season. So my goal in my next game is to beat my best placement, which is 7th. And when I'll play another game, I don't know, because this one was too draining for me. But yeah, that's where I stand.
If you were asked to play Ascendance again, would you play?
Right now, I would probably say no, because I'm just so mentally drained. But I know me, and I know how competitive I am. I feel like if I got offered, I probably would not deny it at all. So obviously it would depend on my schedule, like if I'm going on trips or my work schedule, things like that. But taking that stuff aside, I'm pretty sure I would say yes and come back. Yes.
All right, Drew. Those are all the questions that I had for you during the exit interview. If you have anything else that you want to talk about that we haven't covered in this, you can do it now.
I don't know if I have anything else for you. Do you got anything else for me? Let me close this window.
No, I don't. All right.